all that behind it.
Yeah, that, and if the relationship doesn't get to a point where it's going to be serious enough, and that person and it might not, you're not sure whether it's going to last.
Yeah,
there's certain things they don't need to know about you.
exactly.
Like something, if you're dating people, everybody don't need to know that.
Yes, yes.
Wherever that is. So if you withhold, omit that, that thing, because that's not something that everybody you encounter needs to know, that's okay too. Because everybody don't need to know.
They don't. And I think that also comes with your overall interaction too. When you first engage with that person, certain things need to be communicated so that they have that understanding as well, so that they don't cross that boundary or that line and you're just like, I feel betrayed because you did X, Y, and Z. But if you didn't fully discuss it, then you sort of put yourself out there in a position to fail. One of the other things that he talked about as well, just in the little snippet that I saw, he talked on that sometimes women have difficulty in understanding men's communication if they did not necessarily grow up around men. He was talking about that if like is in his household or different things that he saw, like he saw his grandparents sit down and talk about different elements of life, from weather to the family to all those things like that. So he had a chance to see how men communicated on certain stances. But if you grew up in an environment where that wasn't necessarily the case, then you may have a more difficult time in understanding the way that men communicate. Do you believe that within itself is true, or is that view somewhat skewed?
I think it's true. If you're not privy to something or know what is seen, that can hinder your understanding. But also on the flip side, because there's always a flip side.
Always a flip side.
Yeah. I think it's like, if even if that was a thing, if it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's say that, this was a major, communication thing, amongst men. And if you're around men, you accept it. But what if it wasn't a really good thing or a healthy thing? So that needs to be updated or changed a little bit and say, hey, I understand that, but that style of communication maybe is not healthy or helpful in relationships. And so let's build a compromise so that we both can communicate and understand each other and come together. Because just because that's the way it was or something that happened and is mostly known doesn't mean it's the best thing. Exactly. So I do think it can hinder some things if a woman is not used to the kind of communication that I guess men have. But then we're all evolving and we're all changing. And if there's a better way, then we all can come together to what's the most better and healthier way to communicate.
Exactly. I love that. I definitely love the fact that you talked about the evolving aspect, because I think roles and concepts are changing a lot in many elements of our society, but in many households and things of that nature. So being able to see that for what it is and being open to the adaptability concept of it, it will prepare you for the concept of what you may be lacking or didn't have exposure to at whatever age and things of that nature. So I love that. So for those who are out there listening, don't feel that because you didn't have certain exposure that it just automatically discounts you. It just means that you may have to work harder in a particular area. And in this case, we're talking about communication from a man's point of view. But I can say the same thing for men. If they weren't exposed to a lot of women in the positive communication and things like that, they may have a concept that they have to debunk and get rid of, sort of like the myths that we were talking about before they can effectively connect in that area. Okay, so I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. One of the things that Constance, that we mentioned her earlier, so I'm going to talk about that as well. One of the things that Constance talked about is that she believes that love should be an easy process. Do you believe that our society sometimes make it difficult to connect in relationships or to even get to the concept of love? Or do you think that we sometimes make it more difficult, not necessarily society, but we ourselves when we're connected that way?
Yeah, I'm a complex person, so I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say it's both factors. Most of the time it's not just one thing, there's a wide range of things. Society has its part that it plays and making things harder. And then, there's some things within us, maybe we need to grow some areas or different things. And it's what's hindering us. I think it depends on what it is, whether which society or you is causing the most problems. But I think they both affect that area.
They do. They do. I tend to lean a little bit more towards constance the way because it's like love should not be difficult. That's my mindset.
It shouldn't, like when for that question, because I think you said something else, but as far as like, me and my little fairy tale head, it's like, thinks that love should come easy and it shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm learning other things.
Yes.
They help me to realize that, okay, it shouldn't be hard, but there will be some difficulties somewhere here and there.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be too hard because that's just discouraging. So I'm gonna go with I don't want to stay with just like love should be easy. It's not gonna be easy, but it should be close, for I think real love, that connection. Yes. At least that's what I'm hoping.
You and I both. But I love that you dissected the concept to say that even though the love aspect can be easy or the connection can be easy, there can be difficulties in that relationship. And I think that you do have to keep your mind open to that. Don't think that, because we had a great connection in the beginning, then everything's going to be wonderful. And if something go bad, that must mean this is not right. No, it just means that that's life.
Right, exactly.
Even in our individual nature, we have ups and downs in our own individual lives. So of course, when you bring another person in there, it's going to still exist. You're still going to have a roller coaster at times, but roller coasters can be fun. So you have the yin and yang of both,
Yeah.